The night I caught my wife in bed with my business partner. I thought the betrayal was personal. I was wrong. It was financial. They said I was the man who fixed broken companies. The guy CEOs called when millions were bleeding out of their business. But the day I opened one internal audit file, I realized something terrifying. The company I was about to save was my own. And the people stealing from it were my business partner and my wife. My name is Daniel Mercer. I'm 45 years old. And 3 months ago, I believed I had built the perfect life. A consulting firm that generated 7 figures a year. A business partner who had been my best friend since college. A marriage that had survived 2 decades. And a daughter who had just started law school. From the outside, I was the definition of stable. Inside, I had no idea my entire life was already collapsing. I co-founded Mercer and Hale Corporate Strategy when I was 27. My partner, Jason Hale, and I met during our MBA at Northwestern. He was bold. I was methodical. He closed deals. I built systems. For 18 years, we were unstoppable. We helped failing companies restructure. We helped family businesses survive generational transitions. We helped startups scale without burning cash. By year 15, we had offices in Chicago, Dallas, Atlanta, and a client list that read like a private investor's dream. I met my wife, Elena, at a charity fundraising event when I was 24. She was working as a financial analyst for a nonprofit. She wasn't loud. She wasn't flashy. She was calm. Intelligent. Grounded. The kind of woman who made chaos feel organized. We dated for a year. Married at 26. Had our daughter, Sophia, at 30. When Sophia turned 5, Elena left her corporate job. 3 years later, she joined our company as head of internal finance. At the time, it felt logical. I trusted her more than anyone on earth. Jason said, keeping money management in the family is smart. I believed him. God. I really believed him. 3 months ago, one of our biggest clients requested a full transparency audit. Nothing unusual. We had done hundreds. I personally review all internal audit preparation. Always have. That's when I noticed it. Tiny inconsistencies. Nothing dramatic. Just numbers that were technically correct but moved. Shifted. Rounded in strange ways. Delayed entries. At first, I thought, accounting timing. Then I thought, maybe Elena is reorganizing reporting structures. Then I saw something that made my stomach drop. Duplicate vendor IDs. That same night, I got home early. Jason had suggested drinks with a client. I said I had a headache. Truth. I wanted to surprise Elena. I had just signed papers to buy a lake house. Anniversary gift. 20 years of marriage. I even stopped and picked up her favorite wine. When I walked into the house, it was quiet. Too quiet. Her car was there. Lights were on upstairs. I called her name. No answer. Then I heard laughter. Male laughter. From our bedroom. I remember standing outside that door thinking, if I open this, my life changes forever. And I still opened it. Elena was in our bed. With Jason. My business partner. My best friend. My daughter's godfather. Jason jumped up immediately. Elena didn't even look shocked. She just looked annoyed. Like I had interrupted a meeting. She looked at me and said, Daniel, this isn't what you think. Then Jason said, man. I'm so sorry. And then Elena said something that changed me permanently. She said, it just happened. Don't destroy everything over one mistake. One mistake. One mistake. I didn't yell. Didn't throw anything. Didn't cry. I just nodded. Turned around. And left. Because something inside me had already shut off. I drove for almost 2 hours. Didn't know where I was going. Didn't care. Then my phone rang. Elena. Then Jason. Then Elena again. Then Jason. I ignored everything. Then I got a text from Elena, "You're overreacting." That was the moment I stopped feeling pain. And started feeling cold. I ended up at my friend Marcus's condo. Marcus is a corporate forensic investigator. Basically, he finds where money is hiding. He opened the door. Looked at me. And said, "Who betrayed you?" I said, "Both of them." He nodded once. And said, "Come inside. Tomorrow, we burn their world down legally." Next morning, Marcus and I pulled full back-end financial logs. Not summary reports. Raw transaction trails. And that's when we found it. Over 14 months, fake consulting vendors. Shell expense accounts. Inflated client entertainment costs. Travel reimbursements for trips that never existed. Total, $1.2 million. Stolen. From our company. Signed off. By my wife. And approved. By my partner. This wasn't an affair. This was a partnership. Against me. Against the company. Against everything I built. Marcus looked at me and said, "Daniel, they didn't just cheat on you." He turned his laptop toward me. And said, "They were planning to push you out of your own company." And that was the moment I realized. They didn't just betray me. They thought I was already finished. By the time I left my own house, my marriage was already dead. By the next morning, I learned it wasn't just an affair, it was theft. $1.2 million. Fake vendors. Corporate cards. And signatures that led straight to my wife, and my partner. Marcus told me the truth, they're not just betraying you. They're planning to erase you. Marcus didn't tell me to confront them. He told me to prepare. Because when people are stealing, cheating, and rewriting the story, they don't panic until you show them paperwork. So we did 3 things in one day. 1. We made copies of everything: bank statements, vendor records, time stamps, email approvals. We downloaded it twice, one encrypted drive, one stored with my attorney. 2. We stopped the bleeding without tipping them off. We didn't freeze the entire company account yet. That would alert them. Instead, Marcus flagged the suspicious vendor payments for manual review inside our accounting software. To them, it looked like a system update. 3. We built a timeline, not feelings. Not accusations. A clean, clinical timeline a judge could read. Then Marcus said something I'll never forget: if they're planning to push you out, they're already talking to your clients. And that's when I made the call. That afternoon, I scheduled a quiet lunch with our biggest client CFO, Greg. We'd worked together for 5 years. I didn't tell him about the affair. I didn't tell him about Elena. I just asked one question: has anyone mentioned changes in leadership at Mercer and Hale? Greg paused. Then he took a slow sip of water. And said, "Jason did. Last week." My heart didn't race. It sank. Greg continued, "He said you've been unstable. That you've been distracted. That you might be stepping back soon for health reasons. He asked if we'd be comfortable transitioning to him permanently." I stared at him. "Did you believe him?" Greg shook his head. "I didn't. But I didn't like hearing it." And just like that, The betrayal got bigger. They weren't just cheating. They were building a story where I was the problem. That night, I finally listened to the voicemails. Elena's voice came through sweet and shaky. "Daniel, please, you're scaring me. You disappeared. You need help. You're spiraling. Let's talk like adults." Jason's voicemail was softer, almost offended. "Man, don't do anything reckless. Think about the company. Think about your daughter. Don't ruin everything." They weren't apologizing. They were positioning. They were laying the foundation for me being unstable, them being concerned, and my removal being necessary. Marcus said, "Good. Let them keep talking." Because the next step was the one that mattered. I met with a corporate attorney the next morning, Rachel Nguyen. She didn't flinch once. She reviewed the files for 10 minutes, then looked up and said, "Daniel, this isn't just civil." She slid a page toward me. "Wire fraud indicators. Embezzlement patterns. False documentation." Then she said the sentence that made everything feel real: "If we do this correctly, you don't just win the company. You control the story." Rachel laid out the plan: 1. Emergency board meeting, without Jason's knowledge. 2. Temporary removal of financial access. 3. Independent forensic audit order. 4. Immediate HR/compliance action. 5. Freeze unauthorized vendor payments. 6. Notice to clients that leadership remains intact, but there was one problem. Mercer and Hale was privately held. Jason and I owned equal shares. To remove him, we needed one more thing. Cause. And we already had it. We just needed the board to see it the way a court would. Friday morning. Our board was small, 3 advisory members. People who respected results. People who hated drama. Perfect. Jason walked in smiling like nothing happened. Elena came in right behind him, calm, professional, dressed like a CFO going to war. She gave me a look that said, "You're going to come back. You always come back." Jason clapped his hands once like this was just business. "All right, let's talk Q3 forecasts." Rachel didn't let him. She stood up and said, "Before we begin, Mr. Mercer has requested a special session." Jason's smile faltered. Elena's eyes narrowed. Rachel clicked a remote. A screen lit up. And my company's stolen money appeared in a clean spreadsheet. Month by month. Vendor by vendor. Approval by approval. Elena's signature. Jason's sign-off. $1.2 million. Silence. Not awkward silence. The kind of silence where you can hear someone's life ending. Jason tried to laugh. "This is ridiculous. We can explain," Rachel cut him off. "You will not speak until the board has reviewed the evidence." Then she looked at Elena. "Elena Mercer, you processed reimbursements labeled client entertainment that were later confirmed by those clients as never occurring." Elena held her posture. Then said, calmly, "Daniel is confused. He's emotional. He's mixing personal issues with business." Rachel clicked again. A hotel receipt appeared. 2 names. 1 room. Jason Hale and Elena Mercer. Corporate card. Coded as, client meeting. Then a second receipt. Then a third. Then flight confirmations. Then dinner bills. Then photos from surveillance timestamps, because Marcus had already pulled them from the vendor portal records. Elena's face changed. Not guilt. Not shame. Panic. Because she realized. This wasn't a fight. This was a case. Jason leaned forward, voice rising, "Daniel, you're going nuclear over a mistake." Rachel looked at him and said, "A mistake doesn't have a 14-month paper trail." Then the board chair, Mr. Dunham, finally spoke. "Mr. Hale, why would you announce to clients that Daniel was stepping down? Jason froze. He glanced at Elena. Just for half a second. But that half second told the whole room everything. And that's when Mr. Dunham said, "So you were planning to remove him?" Jason exploded, "He's not fit to run this company. He's distracted, Rachel slid one final document onto the table. A drafted internal memo. Date stamped. Prepared by Elena. Titled, Leadership Transition, Interim Replacement Plan, and under, Recommended Steps, it literally said, document Mercer's instability, encourage medical leave, move clients to Hale, finalize separation package. Elena didn't speak. Because her handwriting was all over it. The board voted immediately. Jason's access revoked. Elena terminated on the spot. Mandatory forensic audit launched. Case referred to authorities. Jason stood up so fast his chair scraped the floor. He pointed at me like I was the criminal. "You think you won? You just destroyed your family." Elena looked at me and whispered, "You're really doing this?" And for the first time in weeks, I finally spoke. I said, "You did this." By Monday, the bank accounts were secured, the fake vendors were flagged, the clients were notified, the company's reputation held, because the truth was documented, not emotional. Jason was charged. Not immediately in a dramatic arrest scene, real life doesn't work like TV. But the evidence was so clean that his attorney stopped acting confident within days. Elena tried to negotiate. She offered to sign quietly, if I would help her keep her career. Rachel's response was simple, no, because Elena didn't just cheat. She approved fraud. She weaponized my reputation. She tried to erase me. The hardest call wasn't the board. It was my daughter. Sophia called me crying. "Dad. Mom says you're trying to ruin her." I took a breath. And told Sophia the truth, carefully. Not graphic. Not hateful. Just facts. "Your mother made choices that broke our marriage. And she made choices that broke the law." Silence. Then Sophia said, "So the business, the money, all that was real?" "Yeah," I said. "It was real." She whispered, "I don't know how to look at her." And that broke me more than the affair ever did. 2 months later. Elena showed up at my new apartment. Not glamorous. Not powerful. Just, small. Her voice was soft. "Daniel. I didn't think you'd go that far." I stared at her and said, "I didn't think you would either." She tried to cry. Then she tried to blame. Then she tried to charm. Then she tried to threaten. But none of it landed. Because the moment she called me replaceable with her actions, she became irrelevant. The company survived. Not because I got revenge. Because I chose reality. Because I chose proof. Because I refused to let betrayal become my identity. A year later, Mercer and Hale grew. We hired better people. We tightened controls. We became the kind of ending that betrayal hates, a life that still works. A man who still stands. And peace that doesn't need permission. And the wildest part? The internal audit that was supposed to save a client ended up saving me.